Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the reality recap. I'm your host, Queenie, and I knew the reunion would eat. I knew it in my spirit because I was like, the season was so dull. The reunion needs to give me something, something big, something that says Beyonce. And I think I got Beyonce. I think I did. So I'm excited to break down the Love is Blind finale and reunion for you guys today. But before I get into all of that, please like the video, subscribe on any platform you are listening to this podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, I did ask you guys to get me to 4K. I think we did that. I think we did. So hand claps for y'all. Let's make it 5. Clearly, y'all are overachievers. I think we can make it 5. I believe in you. So thank you again so much. Make sure to comment in the comments, whether you're on a podcast platform, whether you're on your YouTube, it does not matter. Please like, comment, engage with the page. I truly appreciate it. So let's get into the finale for Love is Blind, okay? We were left on a cliffhanger with Sarah and Ben. Will they? Won't they? They didn't. So Sarah decided to say no because she wants someone on the same wavelength as her. She says that ultimately there was no curiosity on his end and he would have liked to pursue a relationship further. Now we're going to talk about what happens later with them in the reunion, but based off the finale alone, I was thinking to myself, okay, so we have talked about Sarah and her beliefs in certain things and how it is questionable that she would still pursue a relationship with Ben, knowing where he stands. So the fact that she's now like, there are just things that we don't align on, that was present in the pods. Oftentimes people who go on Love is Blind, they say these things as if it's like a new revelation. You ironed out some of these things in the pods, but I don't know, for the sake of wanting to get married, wanting to be on the show, I don't know what the reasons are. You decided to stay. So it's no surprise that now the demise of a relationship is the same things that should have been the demise from the pods. But anyways, the next couple we have is Monica and Joey. They also say no at the altar. Nicole said that Monica basically has a bad track record when it comes to men, and that's why she's so hesitant to support Monica's decisions in partners and friends. She says that she didn't see enough desire, this is Monica, from Joey, which is why she ultimately couldn't go further with their relationship. Now, it has been like some back and forth, at least from what I've been seeing online, on whether or not Monica's sister, Nicole, is a hater. Now, I initially was on Nicole's side until I saw Joey's perspective and he was like, oh, maybe your sister is jealous. But now Nicole is saying the same things that I initially thought. She was like, I don't see desire with him. I don't see it from your side. He's not your typical type. You know what I'm saying? And even now, Monica is saying, he wasn't really into me like that. And I was holding back. I wasn't really giving myself fully the way that I could have. So it's kind of seeming like Nicole was correct. I don't know. Nicole definitely could be like shady older sister vibes, but her initial rationale matches with my initial rationale with this relationship. And now ultimately Monica is agreeing with that rationale. So I feel like Nicole was on the money with that one. The next couple is Devin and Virginia. He says yes. Virginia says no. And Devin did shed a tear or two. Devin's family said they don't understand why she said no and he doesn't deserve to go through this. I think ultimately it was a values thing with them. It seems to be a values thing with most of the couples who said no. So with Lauren and David, it was the values thing. Like, I see, women's autonomy being one way, and apparently you just cannot fathom a woman being sexually liberated and still be ready for marriage and stuff. Like, I feel like that's a values thing. Or maybe, I was going to say maybe opinion, but I think opinions are based on your values. Then with Ben and Sarah, a values thing at the end of the day. And with these two, values, and it goes so much deeper when they go to the reunion. I was eating it up. I cannot lie. I was eating it up. I really was. But for them to be like, oh, he doesn't deserve to go through this and whatever, watch back the show. Because your brother, son, cousin, whatever, whoever he is to you and your family, he was giving very much immature. And I had some thoughts about Brittany calling Devin immature regarding her sexual orientation conversation. Now, based on what we saw in the edit, I personally don't believe that he handled it in an immature way. However, there were subsequent things that happened that definitely highlight Devin as somebody who is immature. Now, I question Virginia's interest in him in general because it seems like they were never going to align really, and she would have assumed a parent role in his life. And it almost kind of seemed like that's what his family wanted. Like, are you going to be able to take care of him when he's unable to take care of himself? Are you like, just a lot of like, can you come behind him and clean up his messes? I think that's the role that Virginia was going to hold in his life. So I was confused how they got this far anyways. And whenever things got serious, the baby voice went completely out the window. And I said, baby, use the stern voice all the time. Because clearly that's when y'all have the real conversations that y'all need to have. But anyways, they decided to say no. And I'm happy about it. And then the next couple is Daniel and Taylor. Of course, they said yes. They were like the golden couple of this season, basically from the beginning, sans the little social media blip that they had there. I was happy to see that they said yes. Now, in my happiness, I definitely still fell asleep, but I have a good reason, okay? I'm on vacation, clearly. I'm not home right now. And, you know, we went out and we had bottomless mimosas for brunch. So by the time this almost 2-hour episode got to Daniel and Taylor's wedding, even though I root for them, I couldn't even stay awake long enough to see their wedding, but I'm sure it was beautiful. I find it odd that the season that had the most singles, the most episodes, seemingly the highest budget, has one marriage. Love is Blind, the formula is not working. I think that Love is Blind can be a beautiful experience. They just need to implement some new things. Like, I don't know, find a way to cast, similar to like how they kind of do Too Hot to Handle, even though we know that that's fake. Find a way to bring people on the show for the intention of dating to marry, but like not Love is Blind specifically. Like, I don't know, like how can we keep people from coming on simply to get their numbers up? Because that's what it feels like is happening these days. But anyways, we do have one genuine couple to come out of the season, which is great. I'm going to need more. Bring some marriage counselors to come on. I don't know. Give them more time in the pods or something. Something's not clicking. Anyways, let's move on from all of that. Let's go on to the reunion because Nick and Vanessa, I'm sorry. Y'all can say what y'all want to say about Nick and Vanessa. This season, I don't want to hear negative critique about them. I think they did the damn thing. They were asking the right questions. They were shady when they needed to be. I appreciated every moment of them this reunion. Hand claps for them, truly. Of course, we're going to start with Daniel and Taylor. They are still married. They had a great first year of marriage. It seems like this whole invisible thread thing is truly a thing for them. There are so many commonalities between them. Like, it's undeniable that they were meant to be together. They love Christmas, as we know. However, their last holiday was a little bit, heavy because Daniel's mom was diagnosed with a certain form of leukemia. She is now cancer-free, but that just made the holidays a little bit different. I think Daniel said there was a lot more reflection instead of like celebration and stuff. It just brings a damper on things. So the fact that they went through that in their first year of marriage and they were able to push through the trials, the pain, all of that, all of the emotions that come with finding out that kind of news, like that's great. Like sometimes those hard moments in life can make or break your relationship, and it seems like it really made them stronger. So we love to hear that. The invisible string theory with these two is just proving to be true time and time again. There's all these little intricate details about each other that they could not have fabricated. Like it's just almost like fate. Right? So the facility that Daniel's mom was getting treatment at is the same one that Taylor's brother he has some position there. And so Daniel's father was able to stay with Taylor's brother while the mom was getting treatment, and just so many commonalities, so many like happenstance things where it's like, you're meant to be together. Honestly, I love this couple. I'm so happy that they were able to work through their little social media thing. 10 out of 10, no notes. Let's talk about the couples that we really need to get into, okay? So we have Devin and Virginia. Whew, was it tense? So Devin believes that you can still be in a relationship with somebody and just not be aligned in certain values, which I kind of understand and I don't. In my personal opinion, I think it is difficult to live in the United States and have such opposing opinions regarding like politics because it is so contentious in this country. I'm literally in Washington, D.C. right now, and I've seen some things. I said, wow, it is really tense over here. I'm not going to lie. So she's like, yeah, I believe in LGBTQ rights. I believe in the right to get an abortion. And I also believe in the freedom of religious expression, no matter what the religion is. And because of the way that she phrased it, and because of the lack of rebuttal from Devin, I'm led to assume that he doesn't agree. And that's interesting for me. There were so many times I was looking over at Devin and I'm like, oh my gosh, this man wants to self-destruct. If he could teleport himself away from the stage, I'm sure he would do it in a heartbeat. And things only got worse. So Virginia was insinuating the fact that he had pocketed money that was meant for them as a unit. And his excuse was, well, I kept the check because I just wanted to wait until we were married. And then now that we're married, this is our money. So before marriage, we're not a unit? Like, what's going on? Like, Devin, his money story is already choppy as it is. Now, I did say before that they did match they did have matching financial ambitions. But in terms of their current financial state, it definitely seems like Devin is far behind Virginia. And again, she would have been assuming a mother role in that case. So I'm just like, you really that desperate for money that you can't, I don't know. It was giving very much broke boy energy. He then goes on to say that since the show, he has only said good things about Virginia. And to me, I perceive that as he doesn't like the fact that she is quote unquote slandering his name. And I'm thinking, well, based on her recollection, you ghosted her. So what business would she have to be nice to you? She's like, I would call you. And after a month, you just completely stopped picking up my calls. You would ignore me completely. You would tell other people that we're no longer together and that I ghosted you. And he's like, I never said that. I never said that. Both Madison and Molly were like, yeah, you did. You told us. And he was fighting it back. But I'm just like, all three women are wrong. All three women are in cahoots. I only would believe them if I saw some certainty from Devin. But Devin himself looked like he was shaking like a leaf. It looked like he was like beads of sweat were just coming out of all his pores. And I was thinking, it's giving liar. I don't believe it. So Virginia girl, happy you're out. But also, you should have known. I'm sorry. Because it looked like she was just always trying to convince herself to be into him. And I couldn't ever fully buy it. Now, in the last episode, I did kind of say, oh yeah, I could see them being together. Sleep deprived. Let me start there. I'm sleep deprived again. It's 1 a.m. But I'm here like, I could see them being together if they're going off of vibes. But once you actually break the relationship down and you look at the fundamentals, they just don't match. And I wanted Virginia to do more of that. It seemed like she was going off of vibes. He was going off of vibes, which is what kept them together for so long. But realistically, they should have cut things a long time ago. Next, we have Ben and Sarah. And this, for me, is when the Lacheys were really popping off with some of their questions. Okay, so Ben immediately acknowledges the fact that he has privilege, a privilege that he has never had to think about being a cis, hetero, white male in North America. Let's be so for real. And he is grateful to Sarah for making him aware of the privilege that he has. I personally find it weird that it took Ben this long to acknowledge all the things that he had privilege over. Like, the world is catered to you or to your archetype, let me say. Like, let's be honest about that. So he then starts to talk about things that he is supposed to remember, but conveniently doesn't remember. He doesn't remember the story with the TikTok girl and how that went left. He doesn't remember whether or not his church really believes in. And it's funny because I was watching this reunion with my friends. There's 4 of us on this trip. And they're like, that's BS, because even us, like, we have been to church. One of us hasn't even been in Christianity their entire life. And they're like, we even know where our church stands. So Ben, is it willful ignorance with you? Are you trying to come across like a good guy? Like, again, when you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything. And that's definitely what Ben is giving. He's just too much in the wind. He's too non-committal to any decision, to any belief, to any values, to any. No, this is not a person who I would ever want to be in my corner to back me up, because he'd probably start advocating for the enemy at this point. That's the energy that he's giving. So yeah, he doesn't remember how the TikTok situation went. He doesn't remember what his church thinks about the LGBTQ rights and things of that nature. He also doesn't believe how their relationship ended. because Sarah is like, we were living together 2 weeks after the wedding and we were supposed to move to Nashville together because she had a nursing contract over there. And he's like, oh, well, I thought we broke up. So the way the story went was she packed up her life. She went to Nashville. He turned off his Find My Friends as soon as she got to Nashville and completely ghosted her. He doesn't recall, miraculously, because clearly this man has dementia, amnesia, all the shiz. I'm just like, Ben, how are you a person who makes it seem like you stand on principles, you're willing to learn, you're ready to understand, but at every corner, oh, I don't remember. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this. Oh, I mean, it is what it is. Oh, I mean, maybe. I guess I can see all sides. Like, no, I'm so sorry. I understand what Sarah was saying in the sense that like he lacked curiosity in the things that she was expressing that she's passionate about in terms of like values and activism. Like for me, I think I had said in the reviews that him acknowledging the ignorance and then wanting to learn and also not putting the onus on her to teach him. I did appreciate that because honestly, that's more than a lot of people would do. A lot of people would stonewall that person and be like, listen, this is where I stand. I honestly don't care what you say. I don't care what you believe. I don't want to hear anything, and completely shut you out. And then there's people who are willing to learn. The willingness being there is something that I can back up, you know? And so to hear that Ben's curiosity was a facade, I too would be irritated with him. I would, because I'm here giving you an opportunity to learn and grow and maybe challenge some of your worldviews, and also see if we're aligned on our values. And if you're doing it to be performative, that's a problem. Speaking of being performative, it sounded like Nick Lachey was calling out Sarah for also being performative, because he was like, well, if these things mean so much to you, why were you even giving Ben the time of day? You still accepted his proposal knowing where he stood on Black Lives Matter and certain things regarding the LGBTQ community. I was like, clock it. You better clock that, Nick. You better clock that, Nick. I initially didn't even clock it because I was barely paying attention to this season. But once I was seeing like the online commentary, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true. Sarah did not stand on business, and it does give performative activism. And to see Nick call it out, I'm like, well, that's more than they tend to do. So I loved it. But Sarah's rebuttal didn't really seem like she understood what he was saying. It kind of was more like, no, I believe these things and it's Ben who is lacking the cure. If you truly believe these things, you wouldn't even entertain any further conversation with Ben going forward, romantically, at least. Your sister is in a lesbian relationship. You are, actively fighting for Black Lives Matter and any other initiatives or social justice issues. Like, this is supposed to be a part of your life. It's supposed to be like in your blood. Like, it's a part of you. Some people you should have zero tolerance to even want to engage with romantically. And the fact that she gave Ben as many opportunities as she did, knowing what she knew about him, it just raises some questions. Not saying that she's a fraud, just raising some questions. Moving on to Monica and Joey. So Monica does admit that she was holding back and that she didn't express to Joey that she loved him, but her rationale is that he didn't express it to her either, and he never showed it as well. And so I then am thinking, well, then Nicole again was right. And Nick called it out too. Listen, Nick and Vanessa were on their P's and Q's today, okay? So Nick was like, don't you think it could be cyclical, the fact that Nicole saw Joey not really giving Monica the energy, and so therefore maybe Monica was pulling back, which then made Joey pull back, which then made Nicole question things. Like, I think it all plays a part. Nicole very well could have been a hater, but it seems like she clocked it. She clocked the lack of desire coming from this relationship. She clocked the lack of chemistry. And a lot of us, I'm sure, if we're being honest, felt the same way. Regardless of the bad vibes that you were getting from Nicole, I have yet to see anybody who's like, yes, I immediately saw the romance between Joey and Monica. I immediately saw that they were compatible in a romantic sense. I think they would make good friends. I think they would be the best of pals if things ended up better. But romantically, it just wasn't giving. And we know that to be true if we take away our feelings about Nicole. You know what I'm saying? So Joey basically says that coming into this, he knew that his sisters meant a lot to him and Monica's sister meant a lot to her. And so to hear that Nicole was not on board made him take a step back. It shouldn't do that. He's one person who annoyed me with the whole sister thing. David obviously annoyed me with the whole sister thing. If you are convicted about the person that you love, it shouldn't take somebody's negative opinion about you to be like, well, then I'm going to take a step back. Are you sleeping next to Nicole every night? How often do you guys see your in-laws for real? For their opinion to be so important to you that you're going to stop a relationship with a person that you claim to love. You must not have loved that person enough. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me tell y'all a personal story, okay? So my current boyfriend right now, I was so scared to tell my brother because I was like, if my brother says something negative, I'm going to have the same conversation that he had with me. And so when he was dating his now wife, he came to me and he was like, by the way, I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you, this is who I'm dating. You can either get with the program or get going. And I got with the program because I love her. She's great. I love my sister-in-law. But I was like, I might have to sit my brother down and have that same conversation. And if he responds with, well, I don't like him and that is going to be a problem for me, well, then I guess we are now an estranged brother and sister. I guess we now have an estranged relationship because I'm sorry. I love this person and I'm going to do what I have to do for myself. Sorry. Like, that's just how I feel. So these people claim to love these people, but then they don't want to advocate for their partner. They don't want to, like block out the noise, especially when it's noise. If somebody's bringing valid reasons as to why you should not be with that person, then I would definitely take that into consideration. But the way that everybody was taking the thoughts of their sister and their cousin and their friends and their acquaintances and being like, well, I guess I can't love you anymore. BS. You were looking for a way out. I fully believe that Joey was never going to be super committed into this relationship in general. And so he just needed a reason. And Nicole just served it on a platter. I was struggling to find the connection between this couple. Still struggling. And it seems right now that because Joey didn't handle things the best way, like he could have been a little bit more communicative, he could have been more affectionate, could have been more open, they now have like this callousness towards each other. And Monica was like, we're just going to be two people who operate on this planet simultaneously. We don't actually have to be in each other's space. We don't have to be friends. We are just two humans on this earth at the same time. And that's it. I totally forgot to mention, let me cross my legs for this one. Joey, you sneaky boy. So apparently after the couples mixer, or not the couples mixer, but whenever the couples met the Pod Squad people, Joey slid into Madison's DMs. And he's like, well, I wish I could have gotten to connect with you or whatever. Okay. And he's making it seem like there was no romantic interest at all. And then he turned the story around and said that Madison was coming on to him. The disgust on Madison's face. I cackled. It's almost like she was like, how dare you insinuate that I would be coming on to you? Low-key, I was thinking it too, but just seeing her reaction to it was insane. So Joey is there playing dumb and whatever. And I'm thinking, Joey, this is not what I expected from you. I expected a lot more emotional maturity. I think Monica definitely handled herself really well. She even was like, you need some therapy. Like, you need to work on yourself. There's some, what did she say? There was something specifically that she said that he needed to work on, and he just nodded. And I think he knows. He definitely mismanaged this relationship. He said some things that seemed to be fabricated, and he doesn't want to own up to it. Whatever. They know the truth. They were there. They were all present. So yeah, all the best to Monica and Joey. Speaking of men who have weird attachment to sisters, David. David says that his sister struggles to watch him back on the show because it's so hard for her to watch him be sad and go through hard things. Oh my gosh. Like, what is this really? I love my brothers down. Not to the extent that I'm going to block their love life because of whatever rumors I've heard and because they're going on a show to find love. Like, stranger things have happened. Be so for real. Their relationship is so weird. David just had no problem throwing his sister under the bus because I've yet to hear from the sister. Sister, how do you actually feel? Because David is here slandering your name, making you the biggest Love Is Blind villain we've never met. It's actually insane. So anyways, Lauren comes out and she's like, I have more emotional maturity than he does. He fully cops it. He's like, yeah, you're right. We later learned that there was some extra details that David received that debunked everything that the ex-boyfriend, ex-situationship, whatever, was saying about Lauren. And so he now believes everything that Lauren was telling him. And she's like, as your partner, you should have believed me anyways. Because later on, are you then just going to believe everybody before me? The person who's supposed to be your spouse, the person who's supposed to be your number one? I can't do that. And absolutely, girl, you should not do that. Even the friends, after learning this new context, we didn't even know what the context was. They're like, oh yeah, he's a liar. Yeah, everything he said, it's not true. So you went through all of that just for Lauren to be correct. Ain't that crazy? And then he's like, I do have strong feelings for her or whatever. And the Lacheys were trying to get him to express what those feelings were. And he was like, oh, I don't think that I can say it right now or whatever. Lauren was not buying it. And I'm so happy that she stood on business, because she's like, you've had my number. And even if you didn't have my number, you could find a way to communicate with me over the past year. But have you? No. Matter of fact, they had been talking since the show started airing, but did he express any of these newfound strong feelings that he had for her? No, it's all BS. She does come to his defense and she says, anybody online who's calling him a narcissist and manipulative, like, please don't do that. He is not that kind of person. But as a romantic partner, he's not a good partner for. That's what she said. That's what Monica said. Monica said that Joey is a good person. He's a good son. He's a good friend. But romantically, he has a lot of work to do. I knew there was something specific that she said. But Lauren said something similar. She's just like, you're not a bad person. You're a bad partner. And I fully agree. David then goes on with this spiel about how people should learn from Love is Blind and how it is serious and it's real people involved. I wasn't sure if he was relaying it to the audience and how the audience treats people on the show, or if he was saying, as a future contestant, you should be cognizant of the fact that you are dealing with a real person's feelings. But either way, it rings true. I think oftentimes the audience forgets that, like, yes, it's reality TV. And there's people like me who comment on the show. But at the end of the day, it is a TV show for us. It is real life for somebody else. So it's important to remember that before, like, tearing people down and making it seem like, we know everything, when there's so much that gets left out when it comes to production. But also, if you are going to go on Love is Blind, don't just go for clout. Don't go for the sake of, I'm just doing it for bands or whatever. People develop real feelings. There are real marriages that have come out of Love is Blind. You're going to do real damage in somebody's life if you mishandled their heart, if you mismanage their emotions. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that David has learned from this process. I mean, clearly he came into this wanting a personal development story. I hope that he has achieved that. And I hope that going forward, he does a better job of caring for somebody's feelings, does a better job for trusting his partner's emotions, and that people watching the show also do a better job in not attacking people who we watch on television. Next was the Mason-Meg-Madison-Alex saga. You could have cut the tension with a knife between these four people. It literally was a whole couch against Madison. It was wild. And I have to say, I was annoyed at the idea of Alex being there. I was even more annoyed actually seeing him on the stage. Seeing the allegations that have come out about him, and the fact that this was a conversation before the show had even started filming, is crazy to me. There's no way that Love is Blind did not catch wind of the allegations before the show, during the show, and absolutely after the show. So to keep parading Alex around as if he is without fault is just asinine to me. I know he hasn't had any official, judgments against him or anything, but the evidence out there is damning. It is not looking good at all. And they have called out internet drama before. So why did they let Alex come on and not call him out? What is that about? Who was that other guy, the big guy who looks like Wreck-It Ralph? I forget his name, but he had come on the show with a girlfriend and they decided to be in cahoots so that he could, gain notoriety. Trevor. That's his name. And then they exposed him on the show. Where was that for Alex? Enough evidence is out. I did not appreciate them bringing him on the show, but fine, he's here. So basically, Mason, Alex, and Meg, they're not a fan of Madison at all. They feel like Madison was duplicitous in the pause, that she was one way with Alex and completely different with Mason. It's almost as if dating a certain person brings out a different side of you. I don't know. I just feel like that's how it works. And I am mind blown at the fact that I'm even on Madison's side, because that was not my ministry at all watching this season. But after seeing how things have panned out with everybody else, I'm definitely team Madison for sure. So she's like, well, you were saying things to me as if you were committed, and clearly that wasn't the case. Like, why would you even say things that were not true? You had a better connection with somebody else. I was vulnerable with Alex and blah, 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 whatever. And the guys are like, well, you were telling us the same thing, that you're fully committed to both of us, when clearly that wasn't the case. I think everybody on Love is Blind is guilty of saying things to multiple connections that could be misconstrued as committing to one and committing to the other, and then having to renege on that because you have to make a decision. You can't pick both, right? So I think everybody is guilty of that. It's just a matter of who gets caught. Mason was caught. And I think that he was butthurt the fact that he was called out on it. But I also believe that Madison kind of pushed him in a corner to make that decision. I still believe that, even though I'm team Madison. I do think that she kind of gave him an ultimatum, and so he had to make a decision. But again, stand on business. If you really wanted to be with Meg, then don't commit to Madison. She was right to call him out for that. But Madison probably did say things to both guys that made it seem like she was equally committed to both of them. And that's also a problem. Now, speaking of the whole Meg second choice situation, she says that at the end of the day, her connection with Mason was strong enough to want to see things through outside the show. We did see they had their own reveal and whatever, and they did date for a little bit. However, now they are just friends. And I don't know if they really like unpacked what that was all about, but it kind of seems like Mason was using Meg as a second place winner. I don't know. I don't know the reason why they broke up, but whether or not he was pushed into a corner, he did make a commitment to somebody and then defaulted to his number two. And if you remember, it was Meg who reached out to Mason. Was Mason ever going to reach out? I don't know. But either way, they say that they're the best of friends, which doesn't surprise me at all. They had a really good connection. Them being friends makes complete sense. I think he also said that he wouldn't have been able to go through this Love is Blind experience, like watching the show back, dealing with the public, if not for Meg. And I do appreciate the fact that she was able to step in for him in that way. But yeah, this whole couch's animosity against Madison was wild. And then Madison's like, you know what? I'm tired of people spinning my story. How about I just share the receipts? She pulls out receipts from her bra and she was exposing Alex. Like, everything that I'm saying is backed up by receipts. These are things that you said. And also, I then turned my eyes to Love is Blind because you're going to accept a screenshot that doesn't even verify Alex's number as a real receipt to paint Alex as a liar. But all of the evidence that's been posted online about Alex, you're going to completely ignore and still invite him on the show, not even edit him out and give him time to speak multiple times. I'm sorry. That's insane. One of my favorite YouTubers, Kenny JD, even she was like, I feel icky talking about this season. Like, I did not appreciate Alex's presence at all. I was very annoyed. Very, very annoyed. But anyways, I'm Team Madison. Shout out you, girl. Shout out you. Last but not least, the hosts bring out AD, who was from 2 seasons ago, and Ollie, who was from the UK season, because they have gotten engaged. Now, I had been seeing the rumblings of them being together. They had filmed The Perfect Match and people had seen them after the show. Like, she was in London for a little bit. He was in California for a little bit. So they were like, something fishy is going on. Now that they're engaged, I was like, oh, cute. But then the 4 of us were watching and we're thinking, this is a little too strategic, you know? She came to the reunion with her promo for the podcast, What's the Reality? I watched the first podcast, The Tea on Tim. Y'all let me know if we should go into that tea, because Alex was really protecting Tim on their season. Wow. Anyways, the point is, she has a podcast that she went on to promote, and then they promoted going on The Perfect Match, I guess, as contestant. Because at first I was like, did the show already air? Because I don't really watch The Perfect Match, but I'll watch it if y'all want me to review it. So yeah, they're going on as contestants, but I think now that they're engaged, they're maybe teasing that eventually they'll be going on as like hosts or something. I don't think that that's a bad shout. And then they walk over to their proposal, and I'm just like, everything feels a little bit too staged for me. Happy for AD. Happy for Ollie. At the end of the day, I watch these shows because I love, but I want it to be genuine. And I'm not saying their relationship isn't genuine. I'm saying the way that everything was put together, it just feels a little bit too strategic for me. But if they were going to get engaged anyways, then Godspeed. Love that for them. It looked like a beautiful ring. Good job, Ollie. Congrats, girl. Show that ring off. The way that y'all would never get me to put my hand down. It's this one. The way you would never get me to put my hand down. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. If I pop up at the end of the year engaged, y'all gonna be sick of me. My takeaway from this season, I think I would rate it a 5. It was very mid. Very mid. I think the reunion came and redeemed it a little bit, but the season as a whole, I'm sorry, it was just not giving. It had points where I was like, oh, I do like this conversation. They'd had some unique storylines that we haven't seen before. But in terms of the cast giving, did not give at all. As many people as we had, one marriage. I just don't get it. I really don't get it. But I did appreciate this reunion that they didn't have all the old people to then catch up with and whatever. I mean, they still brought out AD, but we know that was a promo segment. I like that they just did the top 5 like memorable moments of the season instead of us taking a whole chunk to focus on talking about a couple. Now, of those top 5 moments, would you rate those top 5 as your top 5? If I recall, number 5 was Chelsea comparing herself to Megan Fox, which will never not be funny. Not because the girl is like so starkly different from Megan Fox, but the way that she said it, it was like, oh, I don't know, MGK's like girlfriend or whatever. Like, I don't know. You know it's Megan Fox, and you know you are not a spitting image of her, so don't even say it. The show is called Love is Blind. Go in blind. Thank you. Number 4, I think, was Taylor saying that she saw the vision with her husband. I forget her husband's name. Ooh, I forget his name, but he looks like Flynn Rider. That's how I remember him. Number 2 was my fave. Lauren and Cameron. I love them so much. Oh, so happy that they're still together. And then number 1 was Jessica's "You will choke" speech for Jimmy. And ultimately, she's the one who gave her little acceptance speech or whatever. And then they ended with a freaking concert. And I'm sorry. Love is Blind is already doing a lot of cheesy things. Never do this again. There's some cheesy things that I can let go. Like the sock game. Whatever. Whenever they do the I would or I wouldn't game. Whatever. A whole concert. A whole flash mob type. I could not believe this was happening. Never do that again. Thank you. That was basically the reunion. They ended it with saying that the next season is going to be in Denver. As a Canadian, I don't even know what Denver is giving. Guys, is Denver a good place to go? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's already been filmed at this point. What's with these boring places? We went from Atlanta, Washington, D.C. Have they been to Houston? The point is, we've been to some cool places and now we're doing Minneapolis and Denver. Anyways, I'll be tuned in because y'all know I love reality TV. I love mess and I love love. So I definitely will be tuning in. I also will be tuning into The Perfect Match. We're also thinking about covering Temptation Island. You guys let me know in the comments if you want to talk about Temptation Island. And I'm going to keep my eyes out for any interviews that come out that'll be interesting to talk about. Any tea that drops about Love is Blind so far. I've still been looking out for Love Island All-Stars, but I think at this point that has completely died down. So now I'm on the lookout for Love is Blind tea. If y'all know the tea, definitely tag the reality recap on Instagram, tag me on YouTube, wherever you find it, tag me because I want to see. Okay. Thank you very much. You guys let me know your highlights of the season, your highlights of the reunion, and which top 5 memorable moments you would list for yourself. Would you agree with what the show picked, or do you have your own replacements? Actually, wait, let me think of my own. Top 5 moments. Number 1 is obviously Cameron and Lauren. Love them down. I think number 2 would be Diamond and Carlton. When Diamond threw the ring in the pool and Carlton, I don't know, who was singing Beyonce lyrics? One of them was singing Beyonce lyrics. TV gold. Another one would be, what was his name? SK? At the wedding with Raven. And Raven is like, obviously, I do. She was so in love with him. And he's like, I do not. That I do not is so funny. It's so funny. I'm sorry. Too good. too good. Yeah, that's what I would add to my top 5. You could take Chelsea and Jimmy out of there. Don't care. Take Taylor and her man out of there too, and replace it with the ones that I just said. With all that being said, even though Love is Blind is done, still come back every Tuesday so we can dish on all the reality TV drama. And it also doesn't have to be like Netflix or Love is Blind, Love Island type stuff. We could watch, one of the Housewives. Do y'all want me to review Housewives of Atlanta? Now, I've never seen the Housewives, so I'd definitely be coming in as a newbie. Y'all are going to have to school me on who we like, who we don't like, what's the lore of the Housewives. But if y'all want me to do it, I'm going to do it. Okay? Temptation Island also is coming soon. I'm going to do that too if y'all want me to. Let me know in the comments down below what you would love to see me recap. Tune in again, like I said, every Tuesday. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.